I want to thank everybody for coming and get as much information, and I thank the SpinLaunch people for coming, representatives, and hopefully we can leave here with some sense of either closure or, but I really believe that this was necessary today, and I really thank all of you for being here and for your support. That's all I have to say, and I would like to introduce right now Senator Wakai.
Aloha, good morning. I come before you with all sincerity and come here mainly to apologize because what I had proposed in January has, I know, caused a lot of trepidation and angst in this community. The bill was introduced with all the utmost sincerity that it would be an economic driver for the state. I now realize, actually not now, a few months ago realized that I had noted inappropriately and incorrectly. So if I could tell you a little bit about the background, I met two gentlemen from SpinLaunch, Raphael and Ryan, about last year. I had the pleasure, and when they talked about how they're going to use electricity to catapult satellite into space, skeptical as most of you are in this room, I had the opportunity in last October to go and visit their offices in Sunnyvale, California, San Jose, and saw the prototype that they built in a vacuum chamber and saw them launch through centrifugal force a projectile into a wall. So I realized that it's not just make-believe, it's not just something on paper that they maybe have diagrams on the website, that they were actually going forward with their idea. Subsequent to that, I introduced the special purpose revenue bond, and I, in Honolulu, talked to the Sierra Club and the Nature Conservancy, and that was where my discussion with the community ended. And that's where I was wrong in not coming here months ago to tell you about this proposal. Whether you agree with it or not, you are due that, and I apologize for not being here pre-January. But I am here to hear your thoughts on your opposition or support for this particular effort. The bill went through the process. I was in discussions with Senator Kahele because of his background in aviation. I thought he was the appropriate person. I failed at the outset to talk to Senator Josh Green, of which a lot of this area was might be impacted by his community. I had that discussion with him. He told me that there was resistance in this community. I totally understand that. But I do want to say that there are two misperceptions about the bill. One, that it was going to be in Pohue Bay. And that was partially, not partially, that was entirely due to my miscommunication. The SpinLaunch folks were looking at many parcels. One was Pohue Bay. I mentioned that to, I can't remember which media, and then all of a sudden the community thought, oh my goodness, it's going to be in Pohue Bay. And that is not, in fact, the case. Yes, they were looking at Pohue Bay, but I think they've certainly learned quickly that that is a highly inappropriate spot for a project of this type there. So we've kind of all moved off of that particular parcel of land. So that was my fault, again, and that was a misperception, and that's caused an alarm that has us all here today. So that was incorrect on my part. I will say, though, they are looking at someplace in Hawaii, whether it's on the Big Island or maybe one of the other islands. I think Hawaii has a huge role to play in the global aerospace industry because of our proximity to the equator, because of our terrain here. Hawaii makes for one of the prime locations on the planet to be doing aerospace and aviation research as well as commercialization. So I'm a big fan of aerospace growth in Hawaii, not in particularly to the Pohue Bay location. There was one other misconception. about a special purpose revenue bond. Many people thought that the state was going to fork over $25 million to SpinLaunch and they can do with it whatever they please. A special purpose revenue bond is no outlaying of your taxes for any project. It's just the legislative body saying that we see that this project is of value to the community and we would back your in this case, $25 million bond. So they will have to go out to the markets and sell that bond. None of your tax-paying money is going to be at risk. So if they succeed, they can utilize that for the betterment of their project and their community. If they fail, that doesn't affect any of us as taxpayers of the state. So I wanted to just make it clear that there is no grant, there is no tax subsidy, there is nothing that is going to take money out of the pockets of the people of Hawaii to promote SpinLaunch. It's simply the legislature saying we see value in this particular project and will be able to, they will allow the special purpose revenue bond, if it goes through, will allow them to go to the bond market to go seek financing for this particular project. So I just want to share that with you and really, again, sincerely apologize for not coming here months earlier, but I'm certainly here, hopefully doing the honorable thing and not just hiding behind quotes in the newspaper from Oahu, but come here in all sincerity to hear what you have to say and direct me and my fellow lawmakers in the proper direction. But before we take questions, I think I'm going to be the one to introduce the two gentlemen from SpinLaunch. This is Ryan and Raphael.
Hello everyone, I'm Ryan Hampton. I'm the Director of Launch Site Development for SpinLaunch. And this is Raphael Feldman. Takes up all of our regulatory and cultural assessments prior to going to any particular site. And we would like to vehemently apologize for the way you guys feel about us, because we're a very small company and that was never our intent coming to any location to have a community feel the way that they do. It is our hope that by the end of this presentation that we're able to convey why we did the steps in the order that we did and how we were going to reach out to the community, because it was a very huge part of our process. Before we get started though, because we have a potential media outlet here, there's certain parts of the technology that we cannot discuss for ITAR reasons, which is, we'll discuss a lot of it, but there is,
be nice.
we have to consider that there's China and there is Russia that are fast follow in our particular project. Yes, sir. We are going to tell you. We are going to tell you. I'm just talking about when we get to the specifics of numbers and propellant. I cannot talk about those things. It's just, but I can discuss with you what it's going to look like, the size.
How it sounds?
We can talk about sounds.
Why wasn't Kahua Bay successful in this?
I'm sorry.
Why was Kahua Bay not be able to put it there for whatever reason? What was the reason?
So I think probably the best approach is we're going to go through our presentation and I'll identify Kahua Bay.
I'm sorry.
And we'll identify all the questions you guys have on the wall.
Okay.
And it's probably the best way to start through this. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of background on myself. My name is Ryan Hampton. I was a prior Navy. I was with the Seabees as a construction electrician doing remote island construction. My last deployment was in Guam. From there I went to underwater welding and I spent the majority of my life at sea with cleanup efforts from Hurricane Katrina and Rita. Pulling pipelines off the bottom and the top of oil rigs and cleaning up the environment. And from there I went into pipeline laying from the rigs and then on to ship's husbandry. I'll let Raphael talk about that.
Yeah, aloha everybody. Thank you for having us here today. it's a pleasure to be welcomed into your community, and we give you a lot of credit for showing up today to express your feelings about our company and our desires and what our aspirations are. My role within SpinLaunch is as a project manager, and that involves environmental, regulatory systems, working with different sites in the communities to figure out where a system like this could eventually be constructed. So part of the process today was to speak to you and identify some of the constraints and the cultural and archaeological and historical aspects about this particular area, but also identify that, like Senator Wakai had mentioned, the bill that was enacted didn't necessarily identify Pahui Bay as a location for us to develop in. It was more to identify Hawaii as a state for possible development. So, in regards to the bill, the senator also described about your taxpayer dollars and the finances that would come in to support a project like our own, where we are a small company trying to stand up with larger companies. We're limited in our resources, and we are looking for economic incentives around the nation in the U.S. to identify how we can help facilitate and build this new type of launch system. This has never been done before. We have a highly innovative approach that we are building funds to develop, and it is an alternative method to the traditional launch that you know of with rockets and propellants. We're using a kinetic accelerator that will launch payloads into orbit to help promote space exploration and the small satellite industry. Yeah, sure.
I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the history of the company. 3 years ago, Jonathan Yaney reached out to me. He was a high school friend, and he said that he'd received funding to develop a prototype for a space catapult. And I almost laughed. I was a commercial diver. I was running a team of underwater welders, repairing vessels in the Galveston anchorage. At that time, he said, why don't you come out and take a look at the project, and we're looking about sending stuff up into space. And I was like, man, I'm going the opposite direction. So I came out, I looked at the project, I looked at the plans. At that point, it was an empty building, and Jonathan and one engineer. And so he said, bring me your 4 best underwater welders, and let's take a crack at this thing. So that's what I did. I brought them, we relocated everybody to California, and we set out tearing through this building, and they'd been sitting for 5 years and putting together a prototype. I hired my son shortly after. He graduated from high school, and 3 of his buddies. And at that time it was, 5 divers, 4 high school kids, and 2 engineers. And we set out to do the impossible against complete opposition, just in the aviation or the aerospace community. And we pulled it off. And there's a process to how we were going to take our next steps, because we had limited resources. We're not Boeing, we're not Raytheon, we're not part of the big 6. We're privately funded, and I mean, I got to tell you, there was a point where we dipped down near zero before pulling back through with financing, and to be able to get it to the point where we can stand in front of you guys right now it's absolutely baffling to me that we made it this far. So I would just like to tell you that we would not and are not going to come to Kau without community support. We don't have the resources to do it or the manpower. This is a group of guys and girls that have an amazing product to help propel space forward, but we need a community to get behind us, or we can't even start.
You don't have it.
And
That's a matter of opinion. Shut up.
sir, ma'am,
Yeah, it's a matter of opinion.
Excuse me,
He's got the
let
talking
them,
stick.
excuse me, let them explain themselves and then you can ask the questions later. Let them go through their presentation and then, yes, the community will ask the question.
Thank you.
Mahalo.
Okay, so you guys are speaking, can you tell us about what the effects it's going to have, where it's going to be?
We'd like to talk about the environmental.
The environment,
Yeah.
not about the past, but exactly where it's going to be located, how big it's going to be, stuff that we need to know about the future, what's going to affect us. And then you guys can tell us that.
So,
We're on time.
The community never gets enough time to speak at these things. We need our time to speak.
We have
Yes,
families.
but after
Excuse
you
me,
finish.
excuse me, your folks will have time yet.
Okay,
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, you have, just let them do the presentation, should be over pretty soon.
Exactly.
We have a lot of questions. We also have questions up there that some of you might have the same thing too. So give them a chance, let them do the presentation and raise you guys' hand, we'll call you guys as we go. Okay, let them do the presentation. Again, mahalo.
thank you for expressing all of your comments and concerns. We've been reading your written testimony. We've been reading your comments on Facebook and other internet platforms. We've read them all, and we understand your concern about the environment here, the view from Ocean View, the impact that an unidentified system might have on your community, and the noise implications. Part of the entire environmental review process that any company goes through when they construct a building, or they put in a new power plant, or they build a space launch system is a regulatory process that is mandated by the federal government, the FAA, and there's an extensive, deep dive into how a system would affect the community, its society, the land, the resources, the turtles in Puhui Bay, or the rare species and fauna of any environment that we would, if it were in California, it would be the same process. If it were in Florida, it would be the same process. If it were in Alaska, it would be the same process. There would be a deep dive into studying the effects of, before anything was touched, to understanding what the effects of a system like this would be.
Okay, you're still being on the bush. Okay.
Stop, let them talk.
I know, we want answers.
Let them talk. And then you can get your question.
You didn't come to hear me.
We're not going to get anywhere. If we're not going to get anywhere, if everybody keeps interrupting. If you let them finish fast, then the faster we're going to be able to ask those important critical questions. But every time somebody interrupts or jumps in or makes some kind of, our meeting's going to be like every other meeting. Gotta stop. Ho'olohe first. Listen. Then ask the questions. But if we keep jumping in, our meeting's going to be like not already. We want solutions. And the only way we're going to get solutions is if we listen. We gotta let them talk. Then we can share our mana'o. Why we love Kauai, why we love Ka'u, why we don't want this here. But in order for us to, we gotta hear from their mouth. I don't want to hear a second-hand message. I want to hear it directly from the people who putting them out.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here. I want to know what is the truth. Then I can ask my questions. And everybody can do the same. But if we keep interrupting, we're not going here, we're not going to have our chance, and the meeting will be forever like every other meeting. I don't want our meetings to be forever. I want it to be concise. I want our answers. I want our questions answered. So not ready. Come on, let's listen so we can get it.
just to finish up on where I was getting, we have hired consultants to describe what the noise effect would be, what the environmental effect would be, and to tell us, because I'm not an expert in Hawksbill turtles, I'm not an expert in decibel levels. I'm here to facilitate that process, and we're here to hire those experts to come in to the community, whatever community it is, to say, this is how it's going to affect the environment. These are the noise levels that you're going to reach, and this is how it will affect the local fauna, the local species, the local population of people. So this is all a process. This is part of the process, is coming to you and hearing from you and understanding your concerns. This is, part of the process is public outreach. And we're here today and we're happy to listen to you and hear what you have to say. We'd love to entertain your questions, comments, and concerns.
Thank you.
Would you start with the questions on the wall?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're going to
So question number one, why on Hawaii Island?
So the Hawaiian Islands are one of 6 potential locations for SpinLaunch. Right? There's six other states that fit the bill, and there's only certain places you can do it. You got to launch over the oceans. That's why in conventional rockets, they're all launched from Cape Canaveral or Vandenberg Air Force Base in Florida or Kodiak, Alaska, which are all sites that we're looking at, and they're good potentials. Hawaii is also an amazing site because it's close to the equator, and there's water all the way around. So the potential for getting to the particular orbits you need to give global internet coverage, to put up imaging for Google Earth, for the
to monitor environmental effects that we're conducting on our Earth. We're all helping to supply those types of satellites into orbit. And Hawaii is an ideal site for obvious reasons. There are also obvious reasons that it is a very highly ecologically special place and unique place and sacred and spiritual place that is on the other side of the argument, which we would have to come and weigh, and which is why we're here. As far as testing the project, the Senator mentioned coming to our facility in Sunnyvale, California, and we welcome you too if you want to come visit our facility. When you're in California, or if you're in California, if you want to make a special trip out, you're welcome to come and see what we've developed and designed. We will not bring this technology here until it has been tested and proved and conducted safe for use for humans and for species, animals, and fauna.
Give us the address and location in Sunnyvale.
Yeah, let's talk afterwards.
It's right on the internet for SpinLaunch. It's 181 Commercial Street. Yes, sir.
I have a question. I'm a former resident of California. I worked with the Pioneer Project for over 14 years. Those satellites were orbiting a planet that we would monitor. My question to you is, how do we know the timeline, the length of these satellites, their lifespan, so that when they start to deteriorate on the orbit, that they're not going to come down somewhere within the planet? And where's the satellite going to be monitored from? The staffing, the technology, the infrastructure to monitor these satellites once they get launched. I just want to know what's the plan for tracking and also any type of problems that might occur to prevent any catastrophic incidents within the islands or anywhere in the mainland.
Fair enough. These satellites fly in low Earth orbit, so they're below the ISS, and they're about this big. So they burn up on reentry. So there's no, when you picture the satellites of old that are the size of school buses, that are definitely would be a concern, that are flying further out, this is not these. Okay?
Question.
The point of where we're sitting in the middle of the Pacific, this is the same story that those gangsters that took over our nation, took over Hawaii, same exact, that we were in a military strategic point. There was no computers, okay? There was no high technology. They wanted our islands for the same reason, okay? And then the other thing about the species dying. the first species that died is the native Hawaiians. Okay, way back. All right, get that to you guys' head. They're the first species that would die. I'm only the pot Hawaiian. Okay, the 100% Hawaiians is practically gone. So that's the first species that died under you guys' gang banging theories. Okay?
Okay, you just explained earlier that you do not know whether this is safe or not.
It will not, the first system will not be built here.
Okay, my question now, has this been tested? Do you know if it's safe or not?
Yes, we have tested in our facility. And
Is it safe right now to launch something out of Ocean View? Out of Ranchos?
We would not build a system here. The next system is going to be built in another location, which we've already selected, which is a full-scale system that can get to orbit. And let's just say Kau'u decided, yes, you know, we're kind of interested in this. In the future, in 4 years from now, when we've already built our other system, we would invite the community leaders to go see the system and say, this is what it is. This is what it looks like. These are the type of jobs that you'll be able to get.
I'm asking my question. You don't know the size of this, and you don't know what it's going to look like. And you guys in the community all need to understand this. If you can't give us an exact shape, size, dimension of this thing, before we agree on anything, because everyone here knows the way it is. Once you guys got your foot in the door and you bought the land, we're over. It's over for us. So you want to get your foot in the door before we even know what it's going to get there. And then it's too late. And you guys all got to think about that. Everyone in this room got to think about that.
There's a review process that's going to...
Are you going to be honest about the location? Are you going to be honest?
We can't not be honest. Absolutely.
With all the TNT controversy, why now? We're already battling big things that are staying.
I'm the one that we sent out 30-something years ago for the space pod. Para Kupunas. My name's Abel.
Abel.
Haole. You trespassing. Najua kuliana, mahawe, niele, haneinu, popakiki, no kamekiria. Haole. Kiele. This land, we are the voices of the people of Kau'u. And it's not for development. It's not for the rockets. And do all of these things. This is not for sale. All of these things that you guys do is haole. Power in it. I came out 30-something years ago for Kuduri. Not only me, they had a lot of other people before even I came along. And there's a lot of work being done by all of these people over here. Some of them are new people. They all get voices of what's going on over here. I call them my me because I'm one of them that they will take away Kawa, but it's not the issue. It's about bringing back the spaceport and everything else that they like do over here, including the prison, including all the things, the development. The $960 million that they got in the kitty, that's for build the development. That's for take this whole coastal line and put it all underneath the national park.
That's all we have.
That's what this whole deal is all about, and much more.
Thank you.
Because it's to do with the people that lives here. We the guys that gonna suffer. I don't like see my, and just go do this kind of thing. Look, we just had one accident in January the 13th. Yesterday was the 13th, Friday. My daughter born on the 13th. Born at Kawa. That's why I'm over here. The gig's up. If you go look up the number 13, you know what that was about? One word, corruption. The corruption, that's what it is. And you guys are the corruption. You guys want to change everybody's life. All the kids, every kid who kind of, I give my daughter this is about this. So people, please speak to you guys. People, not you when you tell them what you gonna do about it. How old is it? And you, how old are you? This is why we let the people
specific questions. Okay, one is the actual footprint of the project.
10 acres.
Okay, 10 acres, okay. And the second one is the environmental impact report that you guys are going to generate. Who are you, is this consultants of yours or you partnership with the state? And who's the overview, who's going to run the review process for the state? And what kind of community and public input will we have to say yay or nay and be able to either accept it by whatever method or to prevent it? So what's in place, or is it just kind of a haphazard?
No, thank you for your question. The FAA regulates launch licenses. We cannot operate without a launch license. Through the FAA, there's a NEPA process. There's a legal act, the National Environmental Protection Act, to make sure that the public has a say in the process. There's a public opinion process for that. And that's just part of the process. The other process is identifying the people, the species, the community, the society, the historical, the archaeological, all of these aspects. So there's a legal mandate to get a launch license.
And then what kind of weight does the community have as far as whether or not they approve or disapprove of particular parts or all of the building of the site?
Yeah, there's an open forum to the public to weigh in and describe their concerns.
But more importantly, we are not going to come to a community that doesn't want us. Okay, so let's just take this off the table right now and de-escalate everybody's energy. Because I see that you don't want us here and you don't want us here, and well, we're just explaining about Hawaii now at this point.
Okay, my question is, a couple months ago, we met here with Miami Davis, or GE, they wanted to raise our GE tax. Now you're offering these guys 25 million tax. Listen, our tax money, but give these guys tax-free money. What's your, monopoly? Yeah.
I will again convey to you, there is absolutely no taxpayer fund. They're not getting a tax credit. They're not getting a grant. They're not getting a dime of your tax money. All it is they go to the municipal bond market with the state of Hawaii saying, we support your idea. And if they're able to sell 25 million, 25 cents, whatever the case.
They're going to pay taxes on
That's a bond. Absolutely. We do pay taxes.
They have to pay the investor interest on the bond. So
Gentlemen in the blue.
Gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
And we have to be respectful too, especially of the host culture. I'm obviously not lineage here. And when people have come in the past and they tend to, and we appreciate you being here. I mean, this takes a lot of guts. Come on, But from a business standpoint,
except for the Senate,
when the Hawaiians come together on this, and they shall, you will be in so much litigation. You will not only have to have archaeologists and paleontologists and everybody walking right in front of your bulldozers. You will be in court. You say you have limited resources. I promise you this. This isn't 15 years ago. 30 years ago, they stopped a big resort with a lot of money down here, a little village down here. So now and they've gotten organized. Don't think the TMT lawyers and people won't come to tie you up. I'm just saying from a business standpoint, this is a very bad decision. Does 5,000 miles an hour get it into orbit, or will there be a rocket assist where there'll be rocket fuel in a lava zone 2 area? Please. Do you need rocket fuel?
Yes.
How far from the neighborhood? How much rocket fuel in a lava zone 2? And will your sonic booms create a resonance that can crack the side of this mountain where we live? Just questions.
So the answer to the sonic boom is the sonic boom analysis will be done way beforehand, and will already be done where we're going next. So all that data will be heuristic data. It will be developed. Community leaders will be able to see it from whatever community that accepts us in. They'll be able to come up to the site and see the data, see what's happening, see the operation. No, right now we're in the testing phase. So it's not, what I'm saying is not coming, we would not come to Hawaii first. Hawaii's not slated.
Say again, sir? Will we have rocket fuel on the side of a mountain next to a subdivision in a lava tube zone?
So the rocket fuel is there's less rocket fuel than you would have in 4 of your houses heating your hot water tanks. Okay?
First of all, thank you. My twin brother served 66 to 70 in the Navy. Ladies and gentlemen, blessing. This is not about the problem. It's about the solution, which is very easily solved. Ka'u can be the #1 leader in the source of protein, fiber, cricket and male hemp can lead it. This gentleman and I work for the largest company in Alaska, and ergo we got bought out by the largest company in the world. I am an environmental specialist. I lived at the bottom of Hokulani for 18 months. Every morning, every night, every breath was the breath of Ha, of healing, of the winds, whether it comes from Kohala to Ka'u. We have the birthplace of the hula right here. Our company built the rocket facilities on Kodiak. Our company was hired in 1963 to build the infrastructure on the island in Amchitka in 1963 through the last atomic explosion. Worked 8 years with every military installation in the Aleutian Islands, in Alaska. Was on the board of directors for Lake 2 project in Monterey Bay. Get hired all over the planet to do problem solving. We have the solution. These gentlemen here, and I know who they work for, where their funds come from. Hardworking folks in San Jose. HP, been on the ranch, been on the farm. We have the solutions. I was hired by the richest philanthropist in the world. Third-party assessment, every development I do this free of charge.
But it's still, you're going to have to spin something up to get something fast enough to get into low orbit. Okay? How much power is it going to use? And where is it going to come from? Are you going to improve the grid here? Because the grid, I don't think, could sustain that kind of an industry. That's correct. It does not come from the grid. It uses way too much power. We would have our own generation system.
Solar panels. Acres of them. We got to prove it. We don't want any work from the mission.
So the beginning phases of this, the next system, which is not going to be in Hawaii, will be on generation.
Where's the location, your testing location? You're not telling us.
It's because it's outside the United States and it's a secret.
Why is it a secret?
No, they're not.
First thing I want to say is aloha! Aloha! Now, I've gone through this thing many years ago with the space thing that our former governor, Waihe'i, Governor Squidwater, tried to produce on down here. And the biggest problem of all is it's always Oahu-concentric, wanting their bullshit imposed on other people. I don't see Kahele here. I don't see other politicians from this island here, only this gentleman. How much did they pay you or bribe you to push this thing? I'm tired of it. I'm tired of all this Oahu-concentric bullshit being put down on the people here on the Big Island. Because most politicians, I hate to say, are prostitutes.
You're correct. I'm from Oahu, but in my capacity as your state lawmaker, I'm in charge of economic development, tourism, and technology. And when I see the opportunities for us to grow the economy,
We got what we grow here. You want to help us? We grow weed.
Enough.
You know that?
Enough, sir.
You insulted people.
Let
So,
me answer.
by not coming over first.
Thank you.
You can show that. You go to your Juliana in Honolulu. Look, you didn't have time and all this time to come over here. What are we going to think? It's sneaky, we can't find out about it. That makes it bad already. You insult the people by not coming here. Then the next thing is, you're going to shove it down our throat.
Nothing is getting shoved down anyone's
Oh,
throat.
no,
that's what they said before. That's what they said before.
No, hey, look, this guy is on paper. To us. His job is over there. This is our Kuleana over here. We should get to talk. You didn't have time that whole time to get over and talk to us. Kau is where you wanted to be. You can say, oh, no, we're taking off. You didn't do any homework about this if you didn't know what you're getting into. This has happened before. Come in, sneak guys, oh. If you were on the other end, and we stuck up on you, you would feel really bad. You'd be pissed off. Totally. That's where you put us. That's where you put us.
And I agree with you. At the outset, I talked about how I mishandled the legislation. My only intent was to help Hawaii get a foothold in the aerospace industry. Anyway, can I finish? And that was my only intention. I like innovation. I like disruptive things that make life better and push humanity forward. And you know, can I finish? I mean, more and more of our lives are on this. To have this function, we're going to need more satellites in space. Someone's going to do it. Could that be Hawaii? Maybe. But
we destroying the planet right here. This is what technology is on the planet. Our water's messed up, our land, our food, everything's
One more thing.
At fault for that. I'm here today to hear. It's so evident that this community is resistant to it.
One more question, and I'm done.
We're angry.
Let him ask.
We're angry. Are you going to deal the bills and take that off the table? Are you going to do that? Will you commit to that?
That bill affects more than Kau. It affects the entire state. If Kau doesn't want it, these gentlemen can go some. Yeah, they can go somewhere else. So why would I fix all
in your backyard?
Okay.
I'm Brenda Ford. I was your council member before Miley. I have a question for these gentlemen about the technology. Anybody who does the research, and I did, knows you have to use rocket fuel and a booster to get that thing in orbit. It's got to be over 17,600 miles an hour to reach orbit. You're going at 3,000 to 5,000 miles an hour. You must have a rocket. You've admitted it. So that means you're going to have to take highly explosive rocket fuel from Kauai Harbor down these crappy state roads that are set standard. One accident, not only will people die, but you're going to incinerate our forest. Okay, you cannot do this. The gentleman back here is right. We're in a lava zone too. We have massive earthquakes here. Just like the Loma Prieta quake that was a 7.1, we have those earthquakes here. It is not safe. We've killed rocket launch sites here at least 3 times. And you guys keep coming back. You're a different company. You keep coming back. These people don't want this here. It's not safe. We have fog. You're just going to add to the fog. And we're going to have an accident, maybe at the launch pad. You're going to be shooting shrapnel 3,000 to 5,000 miles an hour all over Kau. This is not safe. You need to go elsewhere. Senator Watai, with all due respect to you, sir, you may or may not know I'm running for the Senate for this district, but I wrote a lot of very controversial legislation when I was on the council, and I researched it thoroughly before I ever did it. You actually state in your bill, and so does Ms. Evans, that this is for the public health, safety, and general welfare. Nothing could be further from the truth, sir, and you need to amend that bill, take out language that is not true before you try to put this some other island. We don't want it here. We do not want it here, and I will not support it.
Whoa, it's hard to top that, huh?
Taken out of the air generated in small quantities. The rest of it is the same fuel that we put in aircraft. So it is
oxygen and nitrogen.
So we don't put nitrogen in aircraft.
Okay.
So to that end, there would be no scrap metal traveling at 5,000 miles an hour because there are barriers around this facility. And as I said before, many times over, that we are building in another site where all this will be tested thoroughly before coming to Hawaii.
Doesn't mean nothing goes wrong.
What's that?
Doesn't mean things don't go wrong.
Things absolutely do go wrong. Rockets blow up.
Do that to our place?
Rockets blow up in Cape Canaveral. It happens.
So why do you want to blow our place? How many miles around Cape Canaveral that people don't live?
Well, let's talk about the property in question right now. So that particular property is huge, massive.
Sacred.
Sacred. So,
Let him talk, let him.
please let me speak on it. We went down to the beach in Bowie Bay. Beautiful. That area, it doesn't even fall within our zone. We were going to give that back to the community. 2/3 of the the roadway that's blocked, right? The roadway is blocked. There are signs up, spray painted on that this belongs to the community, and yet the current landowner keeps blocking it out. Our intent was to put a road right through, so it's open to the community. I'm not talking about the beach. 2/3 of the rest of the property would give back to the Conservancy, so we could have a standoff. We would be wherever the community thought that would be a proper location on that property. We hadn't selected one because we haven't looked at the cultural impact in that site. So we were leaving it to the community to say, hey, we have this thing that we're interested in bringing to you guys at the proper time. Where do you think it should go?
But there is this
California,
Arizona. So this is ruling bomb stuff. You can argue yourself.
I shouldn't be here. Short of Uncle Abel, I am probably the nearest resident to the target area. My brother was a chief engineer for the city of Sunnyvale. When he did something, he made sure all the T's were crossed, all the I's were dotted, and the I's were crossed. He worked so hard. He had something that he could go back to with a proven history. I just had an eye operation, my second. I'm having complications. I should be in bed. But when I heard that the sacred area, which is my home, and I see the target area, I got instantly involved. And let me say something to those who feel that it's much easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. You could have done a better job 5 months ago, 3 months ago, whatever. Look what this did. Take a look around you. How many are ayes here and how many are nays?
And you can imagine how it is for us to stand up here in front of you guys. We are so far out from the beginning of this project. So this is the beginning of the I's and the crossing of the T's to reach out to the community.
Please let me finish.
I know the .com Silicon Valley area. There's all kinds of cockamamie boondoggle, magpie ideas, and that's why the bust happened to those corporations. We live here. We're not going anywhere. I love my home. The sea turtles love their home. The ancestral burial grounds are part of our home.
And if there is any chance that a site on the entire county is chosen for this fly-by-night, ill-begotten project, in my view, and I'm a brother of an engineer, I know how to read between the tea leaves, I'll tell you where you can find me. You can find me at the main access gate that you've paved over lava tubes and sacred grounds, and I will be attached to that gate with kryptonite locks and with chains to absolutely, with others, I'm sure, make sure that this bizarre concept of a theory that doesn't have scientific backing, a prototype, testing, nothing from what I've read. I will be there until you go away, and many others will be there until you go away. Find some other equatorial spot, sirs.
Thank you.
Yay, James!
Excuse me. While we're on this exact topic, not to steal anyone's turn, but you just mentioned something to us, so it's very important I get this out right now. You said it's going to take up a third of the property down there, correct? Your facility.
Standoff.
A standoff. So, just so everyone hears this, you're telling me that you're going to buy that land down there, and you haven't tested this yet. And then once you find out, oh, we need 2/3, you're not going to use 2/3 once you own it?
Hold on.
Think about that.
Before any land acquisition happened, before we reached out to the community and said, this is the standoff area that we need, we'd have the heuristic data from our next test site. Already done. So it would be seen, it would be known.
Before you purchase the land?
Before we purchase the land. Exactly what this gentleman just said. I'm not coming here and putting my energy and my men's energy behind it to then have the community block it. I'm not doing that. Why would I do that? It makes no business
Let's hear back home, please. Thank you.
First of all, I wanted to thank you guys for coming out to and since the beginning of our meeting, I kept hearing you guys say, if the community opposes this project, that you guys would turn your backs and go elsewhere. With that said, it's a Saturday. I don't want anybody else wasting their time. It's just pretty much cut and dry. Hands raised, hands down. Who's for and who's against? And I think you can get your answer that way at the end of the day. So who is for this being built? We have our senator running for Senate, and we have our councilwoman running. And they also said they will support us as a community. So Kahoot, where do you stand? And what is our answer to their proposal? How many of us want this built? Okay, how many of us oppose? You guys need to reconfirm the whole of the community, since this is not even 1/3. How much significance?
And how many people have an open mind and want to hear what a project might be before they make a decision one way or the other? But their option is undecided. There are some people here who would like to know what it's all about. That's all.
So you guys been doing tests but not a case, yeah?
No place. Complete system.
Okay. All of the answers and questions that can happen, accidents and everything involved in that other test case, will it be available for the people of Kahoot to see?
Absolutely. Without hesitation.
If in another country, they could hide it.
It is in our country. The location is not being broadcast because we are
Afraid someone's going to point a missile at it? Yes.
No, man.
This is satellite. We don't want it here. We don't want missiles pointed at us.
This is satellite technology. We don't want the fast follow of the copycats, Russia and China.
We don't need a missile launching facility here.
It's not a missile.
That's what you say, but you're gonna rent it out to whoever freaking
And when we had that missile warning, no one in college was scared.
No, brah.
If we had that down there, we'd be freaking trembling.
Sister over here wants, answer.
Yeah, I didn't get my answer. So yeah, there's people with open minds, but how much signatures do you guys need to get the message from the
One person with open mind.
One person.
So this was just, this whole meeting today was a time for us to talk and a time for us to explain the technology, and it was no way to push anything down your throats. So it's just talk. That's why we're here. We're here to talk to you guys.
Give me your locations of where you're going to go other than here. Do you have them or not?
Other locations in Hawaii?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Give me the parcel.
Okay, this gentleman has
Thank you very much. My name is Richard Abbott. I'm running for county council again this time. And I want to thank very much both Brenda before and Miley, our existing county councils, and Richard Cregan for being here. Our representatives, they and I have been listening to these people that we live with. Someone else would do probably very good counsel to you. This is an educational meeting, and it's an education for the chair. We need economic development. We are farmers. We could grow hemp. We already grow weed. All we get is helicopters, jail time, and lip. The Hawaiians that live here have been here forever. The rest of us came here for a reason, and it's not to be like the rest of you. This is the last place in the United States that we have this freedom. These people could be growing hemp and weed. We could have an economy if we started to see the return on our tax dollar here for medical, for schools, for even bus stops. Okay? We are the poorest district in the poorest county in the poorest state. You could learn a lot and do a good job in your position as chair after you have visited here and you take this experience and you educate your committee members. And then when we have a new senator, whether it's Ms. Ford or Mr. Kanua or whoever, then you put them on that committee and you listen to them, or you make them chair.
I was raised on Oahu. When we still had dinosaurs, I used to surf with them. They don't even like it there anymore. Everything has been ruined. And now, I really commend you for your brains, your innovation, and so on, but not here. When I finally got to come back to Hawaii from the States, I didn't want to go back to Oahu because of the congestion and the litter and filth. It's so mainland. I came here where I have to travel 2 hours to go to doctors or shopping because it's quiet, it's rural, it's Hawaii.
All right.
Please do not do this here. Do not ruin our area.
Oh, you won't
Go
ruin it.
somewhere else where it's already ruined and they don't.
We're going to sell it with the solar panels. Yeah, we're going to have a good solar panel market on the street pretty soon,
Water
too.
treatment right next to our school, for crying out loud. We're trying to keep our area peaceful, rural, true to Hawaii. Please don't do this. The rail system on Oahu is a disaster. Everything they do is wrong for the islands. They can give themselves double-digit raises, but don't care about us, the people. I'm sorry. You take your innovation, your smartness, somewhere else.
You take your helicopter somewhere.
All of us to be here. It's really an honor for all of us. Thank you. I'm going to address my comment to Brenda Ford. I congratulate you for going for state senator, please don't try to hit us with another
He
$27,000
never filed,
impact.
he never filed for running for office. Neither has Mr. Abbott.
In the back, that's untrue.
Okay,
Stay on subject.
I checked Friday night.
Hello.
Mahalo.
There is an island about 50 miles south of here. It should be ready by the time you're starting.
Living in Naples, we could still see the launches from Cape Canaveral. So for people, that's about 100, little more than 100 miles. So if people want to think that because where you want to put it is isolated and they're not going to be affected, it's not true. We heard sonic booms, our windows shook, and Collier County had some of the strictest building standards, but you're not going to find that here. And if people think that you're not going to be affected or you're not going to see it, you're going to see it. You're going to see it, you're going to be affected by it. We didn't move from Cape Canaveral or from seeing launches. We didn't move here for that. People maybe haven't been experienced with it, but
You're talking about hours.
How far away can you hear it?
To get from point A to point B, and you're still seeing, hearing, and experiencing, not just it's on TV or, oh yeah, did you hear that boom? No, I didn't hear that boom. I was fast asleep. No, I felt the boom shake my house. Yeah.
Why would we want that?
Man, I wouldn't want these jobs.
And that is conventional rocket launch. We are not conventional. That is a 150-foot tall fuel tower. No, it's not where it starts. So that's a 150-foot tall rocket full of fuel. 96% of that rocket is full of fuel. 96%. Ours has the amount of 4 hot water heaters in it. So to give you a comparison.
Compare your boom to theirs really quick. Compare your boom to us to theirs really quick. She just said right here, so she says compare your boom. What's the percent of your boom to ours? Theirs.
It's a comparable sound, but it's shorter.
You're 50% shorter, a third shorter. Just give us an answer.
Much shorter. Lightning strike. So a lightning strike sounds like instant. That's it.
But there's 10,000 satellites or something waiting to be set up, right? These small ones. So how many of these?
You realize we live on the most active volcano. If you start shaking our volcano, we all live right below it.
What about
lava's coming on
the
us?
fish out there, the fishermen? They're going to be scared off by all these booms out of the water.
It's silent, it's quiet, it makes a noise, but it's a quiet system.
How loud is the noise? Thunder is not quiet.
There's a duration of noise that we're experiencing. There's a duration of noise.
Let him answer the question. Everyone wants to know in that community and answer that question that live down there. How loud is this noise?
There's a duration of noise that they're experiencing in Florida due to traditional rocket launch, which happens over 2-3 minutes for a vehicle to leave our atmosphere. Our technology is going to be 7 seconds. It'll be the sound of a lightning strike, like Ryan explained.
So it'll sound like thunder?
Yes.
And it'll last as long as thunder?
Yes. No, 1 strike.
He said 7 seconds, you said 1 strike.
Yeah, 7
is per day.
To get out of 7 seconds is talking about to get through the flight levels.
Out of the flight levels, the vehicle's out of airspace in 7 seconds.
You'll hear boom, and that's it.
You won't hear a boom at all. You won't hear a boom at all. The boom goes out front. Sonic waves happen in a forward propagation, like when a jet's screaming by.
So you'll point out in the ocean, and you realize along that coastline, fishermen fish along that coastline every day. You'll scare those fish away from the coast.
It's okay, you're never from the building.
If you have to go through so many government regulations to achieve your goal, first of all, how can the government even consider this in a zone 2 area? Your investment, you're talking about millions of dollars investing in a zone 2 area, which is one of the hottest areas. I mean, who came up with this idea? Let's go to zone 2 and build this thing.
You know, get insurance.
Your investment, I mean, it's crazy. Why would you want to invest millions of dollars in that kind of an area?
How it affects our system. This is a process. This isn't we're coming to Cairo. This is a process of saying what are the available areas to build a system like this. Our intentions are not to come somewhere.
Why did you consider Kabul in the first place? Did you do studying before you came with an open house? Didn't you go and say, okay, this is zone 2, let's not go there?
Sir, we identified 9 sites in the...
Give me the locations. I asked you once and you looked at me like I was stupid. Give me the 9 locations to your best of your ability. Now you can stick your hand with your eyes like an asshole. The way you look at me, like I'm smart.
Why are you hurrying to pass this bond? Why do you wait until after this meeting before you even put it up to be voted on?
There's a process. We're only in the legislative session from January until May. There is no fast tracking. There is no gut and replace. This bill, House and Senate, had hearings on both sides. The Senate just passed the House bill on 3rd reading. So the next 2 or 3 weeks are critical to the success or the demise of this particular measure. There is no fast tracking. There is no underhanded anything going on. But you know what
Why didn't we hear that in January?
What I get from this group is not in common. So how about this? We have an opportunity to change the language of the bill. So right now it says someplace in Hawaii. How about I say someplace in Hawaii except Kauai?
ISW was promised alternative jobs for all the plantation workers. That's why the push. But what you seem to lack is the ability to know the needs of each plantation community that was struck with the closing of the plantation. We need better schools. We need a satellite office here of state and county. Not only in this district, in every island. The needs of the community, of their health and welfare. Not aerospace. Hawaii is not your experimental ground. We are unique. We are pristine.
DOD build on
This kind of economy does not fit the model of Hawaii Island, aloha spirit, peace network, farmers. This is moponui. All of the space industry here, astronomy here, and you think nothing about its people.
That's right.
You think nothing about its history.
That's right.
This is pristine, unique. Trees that grow nowhere else in the world, insect that grows nowhere else in the world. And every introduced alien species kills what thrived here for millions of years. You're not thinking ground level, people level.
Where's your heart, man?
In other words, the economy you bring here has to benefit the people. Don't take the words and put it to aerospace industry. That's not the people. It's foreigners coming here. We are people of the Aina, the land, Mauna, to Makai, and Allah, the Kahakai. We're people of the land. We are not a tribe. You see, you forgot. In your own little cubicle world that you lived in, when the IOW was promised, when the plantation was closed, was to bring jobs to the people. This is not people. This is industry that does not belong in Hawaii. It does not require that we raise to Malama, the Ahakahakai, or the Mauna. We fish, we hunt, and we grow. The state is supposed to look after its people, not after industry. Ocean money was allotted and not built. We need a satellite state system here so they don't have to travel 100 miles to do their state visit. We need a county satellite office here so the people don't have to travel all the way to Kona to do their county visits. These are the needs of the community that you put into your bill. Table your bill, go back to the drawing board.